So now we're all prepared and all know it can start. And of course, it did already start. That's what you could feel when you entered in. It was just quiet and just relaxed. We didn't have to share much. We communicate the best when we're in stillness. That's just a fact of the matter. Okay, so welcome to this healing class, online healing class. And today we still are using the book, The Government of Eden, of Joel Goldsmith. And we finally made it to the second chapter. And I don't know if you read some of it, or the section that we're going to use today. It's all about governing, God governing, about heaven, and more of that. So there's a lot of interesting things happening. When I read it, some really interesting insights came in, and I would love to share those with you. So this online healing class is not just listening to, is not just reading out of a book, it's not just discussing what he's saying, it is not just talking about it. No, actually, the whole offering of this meeting is to offer you a direct experience, coming from the liveliness of this. And that makes it so different to come together like that. So there's no discussion needed, and there's no opinion needed, or there's no understanding needed. See, all these things that we're so used to are not, don't have any meaning here, basically. So, and that's why it's good to know that you can relax, and that you don't have to make notes, and that you don't have to remember what I've said or anything like that. No, the only place that I'm referring to really is already, all this. So we're remembering this information, like we're just bringing it into our consciousness again. We literally remember it in the present moment. In the present moment, it is alive, not in any other place, not in an intellectual discourse, or not in an intellectual interview, or any kind of place where opinions are shared. This has nothing to do with the opinions, but this has everything to do with you. And that's why it feels really good to be here with you today, and to come to the liveliness, like that what is alive in you, that is really alive in you, to bring that in our consciousness. And see, it is something that is already established. So it's like your connection to your source is already established. It does not need to be made or anything like that. And so today, when we use the one of the sections of the book, it is also to remember so many things that we don't have to do, so many things that we just think about in a certain way, but are actually have nothing to do with the direct communication with everything that is. And when I say it like this, then you say, like, okay, well, where is that about? What are you talking about? Well, the idea of a governing God doesn't really have a good association in your human mind. Governing God, like, your government might not be your favorite establishment. Your government is, of your ideas about government, are full of associations that have nothing to do with happiness whatsoever, but have a certain kind of authority or control, or whatever that is for you. I will not fill in the blanks for you, but you have a certain feeling with the idea of governing, and that is based on your human experience of government, governing, controlling, and all that stuff. So to bring in an idea of a governing God doesn't really feel directly very lovely when it comes to your intellectual concerns about it. And that's why I love to stand still for a moment with the idea of governing, a governing God. And one can be a bit confronting to you, and that is the idea of, okay, if there's a governing God, see, one who is literally creating everything, and also, bringing everything to life. So how can it be that you think that you can be separate of that? How can it be that you think that there's a distance between God and you? Like, that's a really weird idea if you look at it. So why would it be a mystery, a governing God? And why would you be scared of it if God created you like the love itself? So what is the deal here? What is it that is going on? That is what I love to look at you with today. So Joel starts this chapter with a couple of sentences that I would love to read to you, and these have everything to do with, okay, almost like a spoiler. It's like a spoiler to the movie. So I'll give you that right away before I say anything. So let me see. So this is chapter 3 instead of 2. I said chapter 2, but we made it to chapter 3. Heaven is earth spiritually understood. I'll come to the title in a moment. So here it starts. My kingdom is not up in heaven, and this world is not down on earth. But whether or not we are living in this world or heaven, in my kingdom, depends not on going someplace at some time, but on the degree of spiritual discernment that is developed within us. So I'll read that again because it probably slipped your mind too. My kingdom is not up in heaven, and this world is not down on earth. But whether or not we are living in this world or heaven, in my kingdom, depends not on going someplace at some time, but on the degree of spiritual discernment that is developed within us. Okay, so the spoiler part in it is, okay, so heaven has nothing to do with a place up there. And say, this world, I'm not of this world, is not connected to the earth. So now you're confusing me, Joel. What's going on here? What is this? What are you talking about? It's like, okay, so where do I have to look for this? And it all depends on my spiritual discernment. Like, how far am I on this spiritual journey? Is there a possibility for me to understand what's going on? And then I really have to disappoint you with the idea, like, no, you will not understand this. So don't forget, it is not only a mystery, but it is also a revelation to you. Like, you cannot have ideas about heaven or ideas about earth. You can have those, but they don't mean anything. So the part that is really interesting to you, and I know that it is the fact that, no, this is your direct experience. This is you. Like, it has nothing to do with an idea about it. It is what it is. You are what that is. See, and that is the same with the love that God's created, that is you. It is not something that you earn, or that is something that you will gradually, yeah, get or something. No, that this is how God created you. This is what you are. See, in that totality of beingness is where we come back to all the time. So that's why a governing God is the greatest joy that you can possibly imagine. And but you say, like, well, it doesn't sound too happy to me. And I have to tell you, it's like, well, that has to do with your ideas about what God is and what governing is. And see, if you know yourself, you cannot distinguish between God and you. Then it is not a mystery. You just are what that is. So it really comes down to your beingness, to coming in contact with your beingness, with who you really are. And that cannot be understood, but it can certainly be experienced. And that is what's so great about this text, where Joel refers to that. Like, it has nothing to do with the place, it has nothing to do with your ideas about it either. Doesn't have anything to do with what you think that governing is, or what you think that God is. And that's such a relief. That is such a relief, because otherwise you would be, say, stuck in your ideas about it. And this, what we're doing here, what is actually being offered here, has nothing to do with that. And that is amazing. And that's a total confrontation to your human mind. It is a conflict right there. It is totally unsettling, because you have to let go. You feel the part that is still holding on to ideas about it, or ideas about yourself, or ideas about what God is. And that is just preventing you from having a full-blown experience of your totality. So yeah, don't forget to breathe and relax, because there's nothing that you need to do now. It's not that I'm pushing you to do something. And no, absolutely not. So this is still coming from making a deep connection with your stillness, with your withinness, to catch glimpses of this, and see that, oh my God, I always thought this or that, and now it's gone. Like, now I have a new idea coming to me, and I want to experience that. I want to come into a direct experience of that, what love is, of that, what a loving God is. I love to be governed by God. And despite whether I like it or not, it is my true reality. It is just what is going on. It is what it is. So I'm sorry to say, but you have nothing to say about it. It works that way anyway. Whether you choose to have like a dream of limitation, or whether you, because that's the only thing that you can do, or whether you completely surrender into the laws of love. See, I'm teasing you with certain terms to look beyond your borders, to look beyond your yeah, the frontiers of your protection, so to speak. See, the laws of love sound really good. It sounds a bit different than the government. You know, the government sounds still a bit more like dry law. uh, and so, no, this is a living principle that is being, and that is you, what you are, and that's what's being presented. So that brings a whole different vision to the idea of government. So I said that I would say something about the title, because it is not so easy to read. The title of the chapter is Heaven is Earth Spiritually Understood. See, now I just said to you, like, spiritually understood. Well, spiritually understood doesn't really exist in a sense. It's like there's no understanding connected to it. No, when you enter into discernment, when you enter into the realm of knowing, there's nothing to explain. So heaven is heaven is a place in your consciousness, is a state of consciousness that has nothing to do with any kind of understanding anymore. It's way beyond that. It is the step beyond that, beyond your understanding. So are you still here? Am I not losing you here? So it is interesting, isn't it? So you see, at least the publisher chose a title for this that actually is a contradiction. So there must be a reason for that. I don't know if we get to that, but so I want to start using the section that we choose for today. It has a beautiful title. Eden, the state of divine consciousness. Eden, the state of divine consciousness. So this is what I was referring to. The state of divine consciousness is what heaven is. See, and the state is also a state of being. So it's completely connected to your wholeness, to your whole beingness. And that makes it a total idea. And as human beings, we don't have total ideas. We always try to say like, okay, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but never completely, wholly, totally. And this to be able to experience heaven, which is your natural inheritance, literally, you will leave the idea of understanding and enter into the realm of knowing. So to make it easy, Joel writes one sentence right in the beginning, and that is this: the Garden of Eden does not exist in time. Well, there you have it. So it doesn't exist in time. It cannot be understood. And that's why I had like, yeah, we really have to take a look at this because there's too much going on. It doesn't exist in time. It it has nothing to do with a place. So what is this actually? What is Eden then? What is the Garden of Eden then? Where's my kingdom? Where is my kingdom? How can I get to that? And of course, this is a theme that comes to us many times in this spiritual journey, because everything that you think as a human is rooted in time, has always a connection to something that happened or that past or that this or that. So now we have say a big issue in a certain sense. We have a big issue because there's no such thing as time and place connected to the idea of heaven. So how do we get to that? That is then the point. What is your practice all about? Why are you doing your meditation? Just to become calm or to become centered so that you can be about your day? Or are you really willing to come into a discovery of your totality, of your reality, of your true beingness? So I bet that if you see this video or if you're here present in the class, that is exactly what you want. You want to enter, you want to know what heaven is. You want to enter into that. You want to come in touch with that. And that's what I'm offering here to you by at least showing you what it is not and where it is not connected to, like the ideas of space and time. So Joel brings this in many times in lots of his talks and books, and he wrote books. One of them is, of course, Practicing the Presence. So the one moment that we actually come into the idea of heaven, that we come in touch with a perfect moment, is the present moment, which has nothing to do with time. So, and that means then we are practicing the presence right now. We will leave behind what concerned us a moment ago. We leave behind what we think that we have to do in order to exist or to maintain ourselves or sustain ourselves. We all leave that behind for just a moment. So we literally don't need that in order to experience heaven. So to come into the present moment and is really like you come with open hands, with empty hands, with you leave your backpack full of ideas behind you. As I said before, it's like leave your backpack full of ideas, concerns, all of that. Leave that behind. You will not need any of them here, because what is happening here is completely beyond your understanding and beyond your concern. So all these things that I'm saying always hold a lot of consequences for your practical daily life, and a lot of things that you're so used to that you don't see them from yourself, or so, a lot of things that you think that you have to do, but actually are denial of what I'm actually offering you here. And yeah, that is just something like you will meet that during your day, where you see actually you're denying the eternal life of God, of you, in this new um, discovering this new law of God and the law of love, and governing your life, not needing your concerns, not needing even your concerns about your spiritual path, not needing your concerns about your development, not needing your concerns about how far on the ladder of discernment am I. See, all these very natural concerns that you can have in this spiritual practice or path, uh, all these you don't need. So what is left then? You ask. So what is left in this? What is there something I can do? It's like, yeah, you can certainly do something, which is step back, trust, breathe, step back, trust, breathe, and thank you. Just be open to literally come into a giving mode in your mind. Your first response is, how can I give, instead of something else? How can I give in this situation? Okay, I'm completely stuck here. I just got a really bad message and I did this and that. Okay, so the first response is like literally the first responder is, how can I give in this situation? Because there's no situation that will not, say, be influenced by your giving mind. Instead of being concerned with the situation, of being completely occupied with the situation, no, something much more spacious is taking place, and that is your giving mode. And so to bring this back to the fundamentals of your human existence, I will bring in some of what Joel writes in the chapter. Um, it has to do with your five senses. Okay, here we go. This is in the middle of that section. Now, on this point hinges the entire spiritual life, and on this point hinges spiritual healing. With the five senses, see, and this is so crystal clear, with the five physical senses, with the human mind, we would be more than foolish if we said there's no sin or disease or death in the world, or if we were to say there's no lack or limitation or no stupidity. Indeed, there's so much of that. Seems to be so much of that. But once spiritual discernment has been attained, even in a small measure, we begin to perceive God's creation right there where mortality appears to be. And this constitutes the healing consciousness. Okay, so that's another full paragraph that we're in. So with the five physical senses, it will not happen. We will not see it. See, and that is, we use that all the time. And so that means that we actually have an opportunity to look beyond that, to take time to look beyond that. But you cannot just turn off your eyes and ears and all that. But it is more like, um, now imagine that you see a situation and you're very much used to how you perceive it with your five physical senses. So the next step then is, it cannot be what that is, what I see. It cannot be that. So there must be something else. So to keep open is once a possibility of seeing it in a totally different light, what you are seeing. And actually seeing that everything is God governed doesn't mean that it is God governed the way you think it is God governed, but actually there's a great mystery where there's so much, like it's so perfectly organized altogether, that if you would see that you would be blinded by that light, no matter where you are, no matter what situation you're in. See, has never to do with the form. It has always to do with the invitation, literally, that's behind it. And that's on a very broad scale. It is it is going to be an invitation to the totality of your being. So that is how you can see, and that is what is visible for you when you let your five senses and all the opinions and judgments that come from it, to let that be for a moment and not do anything with it. So coming from your aligned, centered Christ mind, so to speak, you see everything in a different light. And if you don't see that right away, then just wait and ask for it. Like, okay, this cannot be it. I want to see this in a totally different way. I want to see the totality of this instead of all the segments and fragments that I'm seeing, because I know this is not true. I don't believe what I see. This cannot be it. And that's good practice. That is something that is always available. And see, that is what we bring in many times, because it's like you forget it all the time. You really are occupied with your senses. You have a load of information coming to you every day. So to look beyond all of that is quite an assignment, is quite something. So your vigilance is important, like your perseverance to keep looking for what really is there is an amazing assignment, and a beautiful one. So Jesus says many times this, it's like when you see this in one situation, you are seeing it in every situation. So when you are completely open to perceive it in a whole different light, that will literally be transferred into all situations. So, and that is the invitation that is beyond your understanding, and that is, but is very much there all the time. See, and then the God governedness of it becomes very obvious, because you wouldn't want it any other way. You don't believe your own laws, so your government can, yeah, you can forget your governing government. You can forget your government. Um, uh, oh, yeah. So here's another one. This is also very interesting, because this is what we uh, talked about before. The fact that what you see out there is what you esteem as your reality is a great confusion. Of course, we know that. To think that there's something out there that thinks about you, or that is doing something against you, is also a great confusion. So the beauty of that is if that is not outside myself, then it is starting with me. And I always use the tip of my nose. It's all starting right here. What I perceive is starting right here. So that is good to realize. So now it can change too, because I knew I'm starting to come in touch with the source of what I see. So if I know that that is coming from me and not from anywhere else, then the next step, of course, is that I can also let that emerge from my givingness, from the God only gives in me, from the extension of me as God, since there is no separation. And that I can bring into wherever I go, and to discover that that is also reflecting back, that is also reflected back to me. And that is a whole different way of being in this world and not of it. It is a totally different way of being present. So realizing that everything that I see is coming from me, as a human being with senses, and if I let go of that, not using that as information, but using that as an invitation to see something else, like show me what really is going on. I really want to see what's going on. I want to see this from the totality of my being. Then it will come from within, seeing it out there, so to speak. But it's not out there anymore because it is confirming my relationship with every aspect of my creation, of creation. So that is really great. See, I even try to explain it almost. You can almost understand what I'm saying, but I don't want you to understand it. I want you to experience it. So that's why it's an invitation to an experiment, and not taking this in as a script, or as an, okay, now I know how it is. It's like, no, you just only know it when you are starting to experience this. So use one situation. It takes some time to really look at one situation a day, to see that in a whole different light, or to meditate in a different way, not doing your exercise so that you can get out of house and feeling a little better, but no, taking time to come into a whole different experience of yourself, free of time, free of space, completely losing yourself for just a moment. Okay, so I'm curious what Joel has to say in the other part of this book. We are withdrawing all of this, like all the duality, and then letting spiritual discernment reveal to us the spiritual nature of creation. Um, that's a very short line, so I'll repeat it again. We are withdrawing all of this, and Jill was just talking about the duality, age, old, young, evil, bad, rich, poor. We are withdrawing all of this and then letting spiritual discernment reveal to us the spiritual nature of creation. And see, I would love to connect that to the idea of the spiritual creation in us. You know, it is happening in you. It is not something that you just look at. It's like, oh my God, heaven is so beautiful. Look at that. No, it is happening in you. It's coming in touch with the totality of who you are. So, and that is a complete experience of yourself. Everything is included into that. Like there's no exception to it whatsoever. That's what makes it total, and that's what makes it you, and that's what makes it God and God governed. And that's what makes it so feel so familiar and so natural, that you know that you're connected with everything deep in your being. You know that that is true. Every cell of your body knows that your body is whole and perfect, that there's nothing wrong with it, no matter what it appears to be. So that here's the healing, then here's the physical healing literally coming to you in this part. Like there's no exception to the love of God. So it has nothing to do with your ideas or with your senses. It has nothing to do with what you see and hear that people tell you that you are. No, you just don't have to let anyone tell you who you are. You are just you, and you are as God created you. You come from the fullness of living. You are, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. That is so great about this. You know all this, but now you have the possibility to fully enter into that, because there's literally nothing more complete and joyful than entering into the presence, into this present moment. And then questions may arise, and you say, like, yeah, but how about tomorrow? It's like, well, yeah, you don't have to even question that. How about tomorrow? And what will this one think about it? Well, it doesn't really matter what this one is thinking about it. No, this is just you, for you, only you, in your totality of your being. And it has nothing to do with anything else, not with any idea that you hold, not with any concern that you can come up with. But see, even here, you use your very creative mind in order to come up with ideas that are actually resisting the full acceptance of this, and that's okay. That's in this on this path. It is a given that happens too. So you can accept it for yourself. It is not that you have to judge yourself for it. No, you include that in. And so the next moment you try again. The next moment you try again. You see that your mind's completely occupied with this and that, and you try again. You discover that your mind was occupied for at least 6 hours on something that had nothing to do with your beingness. Well, you try again. You discover that you were in some kind of conflict for months and months and months, but now you try again. There's nothing to hold on to. This present moment is all that there is. And it will give you everything that you need all the time, completely new. And it's completely you. So thank you so much for putting up with me in this. I really love that. I love to read the chapter of the book, or to read Joel is for me interesting, because the way that he expresses himself is very steady, so to speak. It is always so of one piece, and I love that about it. And I love to use it too, to discover, like, hey, how is that? How is my experience with that? And maybe I can say it this way in order to express what I know that he is talking about. So that's what I love about using all of that to come into an expression myself. And yeah, so thank you so much for being present here in the class or in this video if you're watching this later. I hope to see you soon, and thank you. Thank you so much.